hope you're ready, because this is going to be fun. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Very excited to kick off today my full month of nothing new with a full face of nothing new in natural light. Nonetheless, we are up here in my bathroom. I apologize if the audio is a little echoey, but I love the lighting up here. No artificial lights. This is all window lighting right now. And every time I do one of these videos, I get a lot of recommendations to do them more often. So I thought this would be a fun time to do it. And to kick this month off, I've got some great makeup products that we're going to be trying out today. We're doing a full face of nothing new. So I pulled in some of my favorite makeup products, all of them old, but some of them exceptionally old and even discontinued, and a couple things that are not quite as old and more new favorites of mine, but not new purchases. I will not be buying any new makeup during the month of August. I will just be focusing on and using products that I already own and love. So I hope that you guys are excited about it. Whether you would just be watching me or if you want to join me on this full month no buy, I am so excited to have you on board. Before we jump into today's video, I want to welcome any new visitors to my channel. Very happy to have you here. Hope that you will consider subscribing before you leave and make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss out on any of my videos this month or any month for that matter. And with all of that said, let's get to it. All right, guys, let's get started. Oh, I am so excited to dip into some of these older favorite products. So we're going to start with the primer today. And for that, I went with, once again, my Touch in Sol No Pore Bone Priming Essence. I'm falling more and more in love with this primer and kind of primers in general. You guys might know, if you've been watching me for a while, that I haven't always been a big fan of primers, or I just haven't generally used them on a consistent basis, but I feel like the more I'm using them, the more I like what they do for my skin. And really, I just use primers for added hydration. So the primers that I like are basically an additional level of moisturizer. The foundation that I picked out today, I decided to go with the Beauty Blender Bounce and Blur foundation. Is that what this one's called? Forget the name, the official name of this foundation. I really do like this one. I wasn't expecting to like this one when I first got it. I know it's been around for a while, but I never really had much of an interest in trying this one out. Found it at a TJ Maxx and kind of fell in love with it. I really do like what this does for my skin. So I'm gonna just add a little bit of that directly to my sponge, and then I'm gonna add on top of that, because this is gonna be just a hair too light for me, a little bit of my e.l.f. shade adjuster, which, by the way, I think these have been discontinued. I didn't find them on the e.l.f. website the last time I checked. I'm just gonna take that and kind of tap it onto my skin. Oh wow, this sponge, I just wet my sponge and I don't know that I wrung it out quite enough. It's seriously very wet, like it feels like water. Hopefully this doesn't mess with my foundation. Please ignore I'm having a really bad hair day. I wanted to get this video started really early this morning because Jace is playing in a baseball game that I want to watch online at like 11 a.m. He's in Arizona right now with his dad. But I wanted to get this video filmed early, so I had to dry my hair a little faster than I normally do, and that never ends well for me. My hair does much better when I mostly air dry it and diffuse it just a little bit, and I had to basically completely blow dry my hair today, which gives me a lot of frizz and just makes it really dry. So I don't know, it's one of those days. Anyone else get really annoyed or get in a bad mood when you have a bad hair day? Which I know seems very prima donna, but I cannot be the only woman out there that gets in a bad mood when they're having a really bad hair day. But that's what the fun makeup is for, to get me out of a bad mood. I'm not actually in a bad mood. I just was annoyed with my hair before this video started. Sure love this natural lighting though. There's times I wish my filming setup could be in my bathroom up here because it's such pretty light. All right, I think that looks good for foundation. Let's move into some concealer. Today I picked out the Milani Conceal and Perfect. This one's in the shade 130 Light Beige. Then I also picked this one right here. This is a concealer I picked up from Yes Style a while ago. This is from the brand Hope Girl. I've really kind of fallen in love with this concealer for a specific purpose, mainly being to kind of highlight the center of my face and use as an eyelid primer. It's really nice and hydrating, has pretty good coverage, but it's not dry or cakey. So I'm gonna kind of add that down the center of my face and on my eyelids and under my eyebrows right there. Then I'm going to take my Milani concealer. It's crazy. I did this in my last video and I couldn't help but be reminded of the movie Black Panther. You know how they had the really cool spotted makeup on? Kind of reminded me of that. So this one I'm going to add to my under eye area and any spots around my face that I need it. I'm really having something's going on. I don't know if you can see it. That lighting's kind of concealing it maybe from you, but I had a little breakout right here. There's like 4 or 5 zits right there that clearly, I don't know if it was something I used, but yeah, my skin was not happy about whatever I put right there. It might have just been that maybe I tried to mess with one of those marks and it kind of spread. As happens, as I learned in my teens, and yet I still continue to do that sometimes. Just kind of taking what's left on my sponge and running it under my neck down here. There's not a lot left on here, but I just want to make sure that my neck and my face are the same color. I want to add just a touch of powder. I don't necessarily need it with this foundation, but I'm going to add just a little bit of my Pure 4-in-1 mineral powder foundation. I have just a little bit on my brush. I mostly want to put that on my forehead where I get the most settling, and then a little bit on the sides of my mouth. And then with what's left, just kind of tap that along my cheeks and on my eyelids. Okay, let's add some bronzer. Actually, we're going to do some contour first. So I pulled in my Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of this as a bit of contour. This is the perfect contour for me. It's super, super subtle. And initially I kind of thought, this really doesn't do a whole lot. It's pretty pricey for what you're getting. I mean, it is Charlotte Tilbury, but the more I've used it, the more I really like the subtle effect that it gives, but it definitely does give you like the perfect amount of contour that's not too obvious. That looks great, but we're not done there. We're gonna add some real bronzer as well. And I pulled in, for an actual bronzer and a blush, a palette that I have not used for a while. In fact, I completely forgot I even owned this palette. I know it's a favorite of a lot of people. I have to be honest though and say it's not like a super favorite of mine, but it's the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Ghost palette. I always get the name of this one wrong because it's just so long, but it's the one that has kind of the clear base and the silver top. I spent a good time trying to really fall in love with this palette, and I love this row right here. Love the blushes, love the bronzer that comes in this one. I just have yet to fall in love with the powders, and I know they're all a little different. Like we have two finishing powders and a strobing powder, which is like a highlighter. I think the highlighter is a little too pink for my skin tone. I don't quite like how pink this goes on me. I don't know, I've just been really slow to fall in love with these, and this palette was $80, so it's one of the most expensive things in my collection. But we're gonna go with the bronzer here. I do really love this bronzer. This shade is Eternal Bronze Light. Not sure if that's like a permanent shade or not. I have 2 other shades of bronzer from Hourglass, and I love them both. The Hourglass powders are really nice. A lot of people rave about them, and I think for a good reason. I think there's a valid point in the ravings that they get. They have this really nice, subtle, luminous quality to them that looks really pretty on the skin. Oh, I just remembered, I forgot to bring up a setting spray. Maybe I can text one of my kids and have them bring it up to me. I know, that sounds very lazy. I will admit it is pretty lazy, but 2 flights of stairs for me to go down to the basement and then come back up, and then I have to readjust my settings. And I did legs this morning, so I'm a little sore and tired. So there's the bronzer. Look how pretty that looks. I mean, that looks really, really nice, I have to admit. I'm sorry for bashing you, Hourglass. I really do love especially your bronzer and blushes. So I'm gonna mix these 2 together. I'm taking that on my Refer number 5 brush, by the way. I did use for my contour and for that bronzer, the Refer number 24 brush, which is kind of a smaller version of their very large, very expensive bronzer brush. It's a little bit more stiff, a little bit more compact, but it works great for contouring. So the blush we're just gonna add to the apples. Oh, look at that blush, you guys. That's beautiful. I lied, Hourglass. I love you. I love you again. I'm sorry. All right, there we have the blush. So I don't really want to try the highlighter today because I really wanted to get some use out of the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter. Another favorite product of mine that is kind of pricey, but I love this stuff so much. We're gonna use this as a liquid highlight today. I have been seeing so many people rave about that new product from, I think it's from Maybelline. It's like a 4-in-1 skin perfector. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I've seen quite a few people talking about it being a perfect dupe for the Hollywood Flawless filter. I haven't tried it out myself yet, and I'm quite certain if I was to go up to my Walmart today, I mean, I guess I don't know this for sure, it would probably be out of stock, because usually when something gets super hyped like that as being a really good dupe, it's amazing how fast that word spreads and how quickly, even in my small rural community, people are watching, people pay attention, and usually a lot of the shades tend to go out of stock quickly. But look at that, you guys. Oh, I love this. Stuff is so beautiful. If you're someone that has issues with highlighters looking a little chalky or dry on you, This is like the ultimate product because it looks very hydrating on your skin, but it gives you this really subtle, natural looking glow that's just so, so pretty. So I'm actually gonna go back to my blush brush just with what's left. And I kind of feel like that took off some of that blush, so I'm just putting that right back on the apples of my cheeks on top of that. Maybe if I get the dupe for this one, I'll actually feel like I can afford to use it as a primer. I'm always hesitant to use this as a primer because I hate to cover up that very beautiful and expensive product. Let's move into the eyebrows. So for my eyebrows today, I picked a couple of things, old favorites of mine. First off, the e.l.f. Shape and Stay Brow Wax. And then I pulled out this brow pencil from L'Oreal. This is their Brow Stylist Definer. It's just their version of a slim brow pencil. It's a good one. The shade works really well for me, which by the way is the shade Blonde. Give it a little swatch for you guys. I'm very picky with brow shades. This one is a really nice neutral leaning ashy brown, which I appreciate. I do not like anything warm in my brows. It tends to just look off because my natural brow hairs are almost gray. I mean, they're really, really ashy, as is my natural hair color, not to mention the actual gray hairs that I have in abundance. And then on top of that, to set those in place, we're going to take the ColourPop Brow Boss Gel. I have the clear version. I actually just picked up a new tube of this because this one is just about out. I finally got my hands on it. I tried to pick it up a couple of times. One time on Ulta's website it was out of stock when I was ordering something else, and then another time on ColourPop's website when I was ordering it was out of stock on there. Okay, brows look great. Let's move into eyeshadow. So there are two palettes that I brought up here. I'm not going to use them both, but I couldn't decide between them. I figured talking through it, maybe I would figure it out or make a decision. So these are the two that I am considering. First off, the Kathleen Lights and ColourPop Dream Street palette, an old favorite of many, including myself. This palette is so good. No longer available, sadly, but I am quite certain that a lot of you still own it. Also, this one right here, the Warrior 2 palette by Juvia's Place. This is one of my least used palettes by Juvia's Place that really should get a lot more use. I have used it quite a few times, and I do think it's fantastic. It's an all matte palette. You get so many great basic mattes inside here. I thought if I used this one, I could combine it with the ColourPop Ladybird Shimmer Shadow that you guys probably know that I love. So those are the two that I am thinking of. Let's just see here. They are both so beautiful. This is really, really tough. Oh, I'm really feeling the ColourPop one. These tills are really speaking to me. Honestly, this shade right here, this is such a great shade. This blue toned, it's actually more of a champagne or white base that just has this subtle green or blue shift to it that's really beautiful. So that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. We'll hold off on the Juvia's Place and save that for another time. I'm going to leave it out on my desk downstairs just so I don't forget about it again. Let's start off by going in with the Rephr number 16 brush. We're going to dip into this kind of orange creamsicle shade right here. I hope my audio sounds okay today. Instead of going with the boom mic that I usually use, it echoes too much up here in my bathroom, so I went with a little lapel mic. I don't know how the audio is going to sound on it, so I'm crossing my fingers that this video sounds okay. Forgive me if it doesn't. So I'm just going to start off with this shade, run that all through my crease and transition area. All right, now into that same shade, I'm going to take the Rephr number 2 brush, and we're going to run some of that under this lower lash line. Before we dip into some of the blues, I'm going to take a little bit of this shade. It's kind of a rusty mid-tone brown, which I think is the shade Potion. I always get these shades mixed up on the back of here. I don't know if it's meant to be like the back side of the shadow or just when you flip it around as if you're looking at the palette. You know what I mean? A little confusing to me. I've never been able to keep it straight. Had this palette for like 6 years and still get confused. Maybe not 6 years. I think I've had it for like 4 years. All right, that looks great. Let's start deepening out the outer corner with this dark teal matte shade right here, which I think is the shade Water Bearer. Man, that's hard to say. Take just a little bit on my number 13 brush, and we're going to start placing this in this outer corner, which, by the way, usually when I first go in with a dark shade like this, I'm not overly concerned with the shape of it. Like, it's probably going to look a little messy, maybe even a little bit patchy. But the trick with working with a darker shadow is not to overblend, because if you try really hard to like blend things out, that dark shade is gonna kind of end up looking muddy and messy, and once you over blend it, it's hard to bring it back. So I like to concentrate more on just placing it, and then I'll come in with a brush like my Refer number 2, something kind of small and dense like this to kind of work on the shape or fixing any patchy areas. But it took me a while to learn that. I used to, when I was working with darker shades, just really blend and blend and blend and wonder why my eyeshadow always looked so messy. And I think that was why I was just overdoing it with the blending brush. Okay, now we're gonna go into this shade right here. By the way, I don't think I mentioned, I put a little bit of this shimmer in the corner just on that outer third or half of the lid. Now we're gonna take this shimmer right here, which I think is the shade Kaleidoscope. Love this one. Look how pretty. Let me give it a little swatch for you guys. Look how pretty that is. It's like a shimmery, like a silvery champagne that has a blue shift to it. Very beautiful. We're gonna add that to the inner lid and kind of overlap that shimmer that I put on the outer half of the lid. Love how those two, or those three, these blues layer with each other. They're so pretty. This is one of my go-to looks with this palette when I'm not reaching for the rose golds. Now we're gonna go back to that small blending brush. Nothing's left on here. I'm just gonna feather that along that outer corner. Taking a little bit of that dark brown right here. I think this is the shade Elfish, one of my favorite matte browns. It's so, so pretty. So we're gonna add a little bit of this just to the lash line, and we're gonna use this to kind of work on the shape right here. It doesn't look too bad, but I just wanna add a little bit of depth, kind of clean up this line a little bit, and then we're gonna pull just a hair of that down, turn to the side a little along this outer corner down below. Now just a little bit of liner. You guys know I'm going to use my Wet n Wild Simma Brown now liner. I'm just going to add a little bit of this to my waterline, just on the top, and then a tiny, tiny bit to this outermost corner. Next, just a couple of coats of mascara. Today I'm going to take my Sky High mascara by Maybelline. I'm going to add a couple of coats of this, and then we will come back, finish off with the lips, and we will be all done. Okay guys, here are the finished eyes. Love how this one turned out. That's such a good palette. I have not used it in such a long time, but man, you guys, it is still so good. Let's finish off with the lips. So I have a couple of different lip products that I wanted to use today. First off, we're gonna dip into the Charlotte Tilbury lip liner. I have the shade Iconic Nude. This is such a good lip liner. It lasts so long, better than any other lip liner that I have in my entire collection. I wanna pick up another shade or two of these. The only thing I will say about it is I wish it was a twist up rather than a sharpenable pencil, because every time I sharpen this and I see that like wasted product on my little sharpener, I kind of cringe. Like, this thing was kind of expensive and I feel like I'd like to save that and not waste it. So I just slightly overline the bottom and then I kind of blend it out a little with my finger, and the same on the top. And I really only line my lips in the center. I don't put any liner on the outside edges of my lips. For me, I just find it looks a little bit more natural. Okay, and now we're gonna add a little bit of, a couple different lipsticks actually. So I pulled these two out. I have my Flower Beauty lipstick in the shade Naked Blush. And then I wanna top it off with this right here. This is Baddest Beige from Maybelline, their Shine Lipstick. So we're gonna start with this one from Flower Beauty. We're going to top it with a little bit of this in the center to add a little bit of shine and just to lighten up the center a little bit more. There we have the finished look. Let's add a little bit of setting spray. And for that, I grabbed the L'Oreal Lumi Shake and Glow setting spray. Haven't used this one for a while either. And man, you guys, oh, in fact, oh, it's a little log jam. A couple sprays of this. One of the best scented setting sprays that I have ever tried. Here is the finished look for my full face of Nothing New to kick off my full month of Nothing New. I am so excited about this month. I have some really fun videos coming up for you guys. Keep an eye on my Instagram. I will have some interactive video ideas coming up on there that I want your guys' feedback on. So if you haven't been following me or you haven't yet followed me, be sure to head over there if you'd like to be involved in some of my videos this coming month. There's some fun stuff coming your way. Can't wait to share it with you guys. Hope you guys are excited about this month. I always love doing these full month of Nothing News. I do them twice a year, one in January and then one either in July or August, and I love them. Great time to put the wallet away and just focus on the makeup that I already own and love. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video today. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I want to remind you one more time, please be sure to subscribe before you leave. And that is all for now. I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye. Jazz hands for a thumbnail. Should we do jazz hands thumbnail? Oh, there goes my mic. Cringiest part of the job right here.